We all give final exams. It's a huge part of our assessment. And so what's your strategy for creating a final exam, for assessing student performance, their achievement of measurables? What do you do?
You have this figured out, right? No?
Yeah.
Sure. That's what I heard.
I do the best exams.
You know, I've been thinking a lot more, I think especially teaching in a seminary, a lot more about final projects that look like the work of ministry, so that my training leads me to want to assign exegetical papers, but no pastor is sitting in a study during the week writing exegetical papers, but what kind of products look like the work of ministry. So that a lot more. And then one of the things we're trying in this class right now that my teaching partner and I are going through is to use rubrics instead of grades. So, you know, instead of holding your finger up and saying, oh, this feels like a B or this feels like a C, there's this gradation, right, of outcomes, right? So it's not just this feels like a good paper or a bad paper, but here are the things that are strong, here are the things that you need to work on. But my students did freak out about it because they took these numbers and turned them into grades, and I was like, no, don't do that. You're not, but that's how we're enculturated, right? So it's fighting, I think, a losing battle sometimes to get away from grades, but I don't know.
I use rubrics, but I don't like them. But I use them because students need a guide how we're going to assess them. The reason I don't like them, I once taught SAT. And in SAT, we have a weekly test. What is your score? And that's how we measure their progress. But student was all over the place. And we'd say, oh, he didn't get sleep that night, or she's not good at geometry, and just had weird geometry problems. It is supposedly the most objective measure, a full-on test, but yet it's wild and not reflective of their performance and growth. And that, when we quantify things that we do in religion, I have a problem with that. You know, I'm uncomfortable assigning quantitative values to, and when you get to spiritual formation classes, like, forget it. Like, honestly, I just feel uncomfortable doing any assessment, and so I give them A's unless they don't do something.
That's
and I just, you grew a lot. You're very mature, but not so much. And so
you're an A in spirituality. You're a C in spirituality. You're a C player.
I think my job's a little easier because with undergrads, for the most part, and we don't have a religion requirement or anything, so, and people take my classes to fulfill a humanities requirement. So I feel like I have this one chance to increase their religious literacy. So my exams, at least in the intro courses, are designed, half of it is objective, so like you have to know what the 5 pillars of Islam are, right? You have to know that the Buddha lived before Jesus. Like those kinds of things, you just have to know those things, and that they either get right or wrong. And then I have an essay section, or at least like little short answers, where there I can fudge it a little bit. If I think they're striving towards something in a good way, I can, you know. So they have part of it where they're like, that's the grade I got because I got these things wrong. And then this part is, like, you know, a little bit more finger in the air.
Well, I've been thinking about, I think some of this distinction between content and what you do with that content. So which one do we measure? Do we measure that students know stuff, or do we measure what students are able to do with the stuff that they know?
Both, I would say.
And I think that second part is the most important part in some ways, but it's the hardest part to put a grade to put a number to put a rubric on. But
you can't do that without the first part, right? Like, so if I'm going to ask them an essay where they have to do a compare and contrast or a synthesis of some kind, they can't do it if they don't remember.
If they don't know what to compare.
If they think Paul came before Jesus.
That's a problem.
Right? That happened recently.
Oh, geez.
I was like,
that's just a few
really?
years.
Paul is easy? Okay, that's where we're going.
I just graded a bunch of midterms, and I love that moment. You're like, did you listen to anything I said? But then you get to the student that seemed to listen to everything. I'm like, oh, no.
Thank you for joining us from Stories from the Front of the Classroom.